Hello, this is Mr. Agbamu Idano Grenell. I'm here to teach mathematics on the topic coordinate geometry. In today's class, I'm going to focus on the following objectives: identify the general form of the equation of a straight line, calculate the equation of a straight line, then calculate the gradient and intercept of a given equation of a line. Alright, how do I do this? Let me review what we did in our last class. In our last class, we derived three equations to calculate the equation of a straight line. If you could recall, in our last class, you discovered that this was the first equation I derived. That to calculate the equation of a line, you should know the gradient and the y-intercept. If you know the gradient and the y-intercept, you can use this formula: y is equal to mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the y-intercept. You can see the meaning of each of the terms I have here. M is gradient, C is y-intercept. So this is one of the equations you can use, and in our last class I derived the equation. In case you want to know how we got these equations, you can review our last class again. You will see everything I did there, how to get each of these equations. Then if the gradient and a point is given, you can use this equation. When you know a gradient When you know the gradient of the straight line and you have a point x1 and y1 at the coordinate of the point, you can use the second equation. Or if the gradient is not given and the y-intercept is not given, you can use 2 points. Then 2 points will be given on the straight line. So you can see the first coordinate x1 and y1, then the second coordinate x2 and y2. So that is this x1, y1, these are the first coordinate, x2, y2, these are the second coordinates. So this is what we did in our last class, and with this you can solve equation of a straight line. And in that class I didn't do any example. I told you that I'm going to solve example in our next class, but I just gave you some questions to practice in case you can do it. But don't worry, if you cannot solve those questions, I'm going to solve example now. With this example you can solve those questions. Now, how do we solve equation of a straight line? But there's one thing you need to know if you are asked to find or calculate the equation of a straight line. You see the first objective we have here. It says identify the general form of the equation of a straight line. You should know how to represent your equation of a straight line. In which form do you want to keep your equation of a straight line? So that is one important thing. So how do we represent equation of a straight line? Let's take this general form here. This general form is very important. Just like your quadratic equation, you need to know the general form of quadratic equation. So it's very important. So what is the general form? So the general form of equation of a straight line is given by this. So the equation is given by, let me put it in mathematical form, ax plus by plus c equal to 0. So this is the general form of equation of a straight line. I want you to see it clearly. And why are we using this, or why do we take this as the general form? We use this because all the three equations you have here, if you look at them, they are all linear equations, because the highest power of each of the variables you have here is power 1. So this can never be a quadratic equation. They are all linear equations. So that is why we pick this as the general form of the equation of a straight line. So when you are asked to find the equation of a straight line, you can leave your answer in this form. And there are other forms you can also leave it on depend on what the examiner wants. Like objective questions, they can leave the options. The options can leave the answer in this form, or they can leave it in other form. In this general form of equation, a, b, and c are constant. So take note of that. Where a, b, and c and C are constant. They are all constant. That means they are numbers. A, B, and C, they are constant. That means they are all numbers. Take note of that. So A, B, and C must be a number. That is one important thing you should take note of. Okay, so now that you know how to leave your answer in an equation of a straight line, I think we can go to example now. But before we go to example, as I said the other time, you can leave your answer in any form you want, but depend on what the examiner wants. So this first equation I have here, this number one equation, y equals to mx plus c. Some people usually take this as the general form of equation of a straight line, because it also looks like this one. It just depends on the way you put your answer. Let me just demonstrate something. For example, this general equation I have here, ax plus by plus c equals to 0. If I decide to make y the subject, you can see this first equation, y is the subject. If I decide to make y the subject of this general form of equation, let's see what we are going to get. Okay, making y, just put it in statement, making y the subject. If you make y the subject, then you are going to get, you know what that means? That means ax plus c will go to the other side of the equation. So you are going to have your by will now be equals to minus ax minus c. You can see it. So you are making y the subject, so ax plus c will come to the other side of the equation. I know 0 is on the other side, so 0 means nothing. It's a number that means nothing. So when they subtract 0 from this number, they will remain the same. So that's why we have this. Then the next thing is to divide. Let's divide each term. So divide each term. Divide each term by, you divide each of these term by b. You are going to get this. Let's see. Divide each of the term by b. Okay. This is what you are going to get, which is b. We divide b here. It's going to give us b. Okay, let me put it in fraction so that you can see it. So you are going to have by divided by b, which is equals to minus ax, talking of ax divided by b, then minus c divided by b. So this is what you are going to get. Then finally b will cancel each of them. So when b cancel out, you are going to end up having your equation of a straight line as y equal to, see, minus a over b, minus a over bx, then minus c over b. So you can see it. So if you leave your equation in this form, you can see that the general form of equation of a straight line can also be represented in this form. All you just need to do here is to make y the subject. And if you compare, if you do some comparison, so if you do some comparison, you will see what I mean. So by the time you compare now, this equation, let me point it so that you can get it well. By the time you compare this equation, the first equation I have here, this equation y equals to mx plus c, by the time you compare it to what I just got now, so by the time you compare it to this, you will discover that at the end of the day, you discover that m, which is the gradient, m will now be equals to minus a over b, and okay, and c, which is the intercept, and c will now be equals to minus c over b. So this is what I wanted to understand. So we can call this the general equation of a straight line. You can also call this form too. All you just need to do, replace minus a over b with m. You are going to have y is equals to ms. Then replace minus c over b with c, which is ms plus c. So that is what we are saying. So this is just one important thing you should take note of, because there are some cases, though we shall still going to do an example on that. Let me not waste much time in explaining that. When we solve example on that, you will understand it. So with this, I think you'll get what we are saying. Take note of the three equations. We need them when you are asked to find equation of a straight line. So take note of that. And your answers, most times, most examiners will want you to leave your answers in this general form. So take note of that. But there are some cases, especially in objective questions, they may want you to leave your answer in this form. So you may be asked to make y the subject of the equation. So take note. And they may even ask you to find the gradient and y-intercept. So it depends on what they want. So you have no problem. If it's gradient they want you to find, when you make y the subject, replace the coefficient of x as m. So that will be the gradient. Then replace the constant term here by c. That will give you the y-intercept. So before we move, let's solve this example. So you can see this example, just 3 short questions. It says we should determine the equations of the following lines. So we have some lines here, and now you cannot draw the line. You don't know how the line looks like, but they are straight line. So take note of that. They are all straight lines, but you don't know how the line will look like. But the first one here gave a gradient and intercept of -2 on the vertical axis, and you know that vertical axis is the same thing as y-axis. So since gradient is given and now, and the y-intercept is given, so you can use your equation, any of those equations that you know will be fit for this question. You can use them and you get your answer. So solution, let's start with the first one. So let's start with A now. So how do you solve for A? A is a very simple question. I've already given you the condition. When gradient is given and the y-intercept is given, I've told you the equation to use. You don't need to waste your time. Use the number 1 equation here. So use this number 1. And so this number 1, gradient is given, y-intercept is given. Now to find the equation of the straight line. So use this formula directly. Gradient is m, y-intercept is c. Substitute in the formula and that is the answer. There's nothing to solve. So it's a very simple one. Then if they want you to put your answer in the general form, you cannot leave it in the general form. So depend on what the question wants. So that is all for the first one. That is the solution of this first one. So all I need to do is, I'll now say using this equation, y equals to ms plus c. So if I use this equation, using this equation, all we need to do is, using this equation, the equation of the straight line, is, so you don't need to waste your time. Your final answer will now be y equals to, then the gradient in this number A here now is 3x. Just replace m is the gradient, 3x plus c is the intercept, which is -2. So you need to put this in bracket because of the -2. So this is the answer, but let's remove this plus in this minus in bracket. So we need to open bracket. Minus times plus will give you minus. So your final answer is now going to be y is equals to 3x minus 2. So this is the equation. So that is all. So if you want to put it in the general form I showed you the other time, all you need to do in that case is to take 3x and minus 2 to the other side of the equation. Understand? By the time you take it to the other side of the equation, you can leave your answer in this form. This is also correct. Or you can decide to leave your answer in this form. When you take 3x minus 2 to the other side of the equation, you are going to have y minus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So this is the answer. You can either leave it in this form or you leave it in this form. You can even decide to put minus 3x first before y. It's just changing the position of the x and y. The same thing. So this is the equation of the straight line. So that is the first answer. So very simple. It will not take you even up to 10-15 seconds. You will get the answer. So if you want the answer to be in this form, you leave this. This is the answer. If you want the answer to be in this form, you leave it in this form. So that is the answer for the first one. So let's look at the B part of the question. So the B part says we should do what now? The B part says we should solve for equation of the line, and they gave a gradient and a point. So I've already told you what to do when a gradient and a point is given. So when a gradient and a point is given, when you refer those three equations I summarized in our last class, which I also put in the beginning of this class, I said when gradient and 3 points are given, so you use this. So using this equation, y minus y1, so this was the equation I gave you, is equals to m, then you open your bracket, x minus x1. So this is the equation you are going to use in this question. So this is the equation. So gradient is 4, so m, you just replace this m with 4. Then the point given is 3 and minus 2. So this is the coordinate of the point. So the first number 3 is the x coordinate, and the second number here minus 2 is the y coordinate. So you just substitute there, then leave it in this form. Either you leave it in this form or in this form, anyone the question wants you to do. So the equation of the line will now be, so the equation of the line is, so how do you get this now? You said y minus, so y1, which is the second coordinate, minus 2. So y minus, you must put that minus 2 in bracket to avoid clash of signs. So y minus minus 2 will now be equal to, gradient in the equation is 4, then you open your bracket, then x minus x1, which is the first coordinate, is 3, x1, so which is 3, x minus 3. So this is all. Then most times your answer will not be in this form, so they will not leave the answer in this form. It's not left for you to leave your answer in this form or in this form. Anyone you wish, is the same thing, you get the same. So if I solve this down and put it in this form, I need to open this bracket on the right hand side, I need to open this bracket here. So I'm going to have y plus because minus times minus, the minus we open the bracket, minus times minus is plus, so you have plus 2 is equals to, then 4 we open the bracket here, which is 4x minus, then 4 we also times 3 here, which is 4 times 3 is 12. Then at the end of the day, you represent your equation in the gradient intercept form first. So I'm going to have y, if I take plus 2 to this side of the equation, plus will become minus, so I'm going to have y equal to 4x minus 12 minus 2. Then my final answer is now going to be y is equal to, final answer is now going to be y equals to 4x, then minus 12 minus 2 is going to give me minus 14. So this is the answer of this second equation. But if you wish to leave it in the general form like this second answer, now all you need to do is to take 4x and minus 14 to the other side of the equation. So you can also do that by saying y minus 4x plus 14 is equal to 0. So this is the answer. You can either leave it in this form or in this form. So that is the second solution to this question. Take note of that. Take note of that. So you can see that it's not really a difficult question. So the last one, let me do it on this corner here. The last one is, that is the C part. The C now. The C part of the question says we should find the equation of the line, but this time around they gave us 2 points. So I gave you the equation for 2 points. So if you are solving for 2 points, I've told you to use this equation. So all you just need to do is I've told you the equation to use. So using this equation, let me position it well. Okay, so using this equation now, so using this equation, which is let me go to next paragraph. So which is y minus y1. Okay, let me use mathematical mode, which is y minus y1 divided by x minus x1, then is equal to y2 minus y1, then divided by x2 minus x1. So this is the equation you are going to use for number 3 when 2 points are given. See, if you look at number 3, gradient is not given, y-intercept is not given, they just give you 2 points and they want you to find the equation of the line. So use this formula, you get your answer fast and you move on. So without wasting time now, so what are we going to do? So y, you leave it there. So y minus, so y1, so the first point here is minus 3. So you put it in bracket, y minus minus 3, then divided by x minus, so x1. Okay, the numerator is y, sorry. So this is y1 is 5, not 3. So I don't even need the bracket now. It's 5. So y minus y1. So y1 is 5. This is second coordinate. Then x1 is minus 3. So this place is going to be minus 3. Take note of that. Then it's equal to then y2, which is the second coordinate now. So y2 is minus 4, which is minus 4 minus then y1, which is 5 minus 5. Okay, minus 5, then divided by x2, which is minus 2 minus then x1, which is minus 3. So you must put that in bracket also, minus 3. So what you need to do now is to solve this down and you get your answer. That is all. Let me position it well. So that is all. So what you need to do now is to represent your answer in any of these two forms, either this or this. It's the same thing. If it's subjective question, depending on how they leave the answer, you can leave your own in that form also. So what am I going to do? Let's simplify this basic arithmetic we have here before we move on. So I have 5. So I have y minus 5 numerator divided by, so you open bracket, x times x, sorry, minus times minus is going to give us plus. So x plus 3, so which is equal to minus 4 minus 5, we're going to give us minus 9. Then divided by then minus times minus here is plus. So minus 2 plus 3. So that's what we have here. Minus 2 plus 3. That's what we have in the denominator. Okay. Then in our next line, we still have y minus 5. Okay. Y minus 5. Y minus 5 divided by x x plus 3, which is equals to minus 9. Minus 9 divided by, so minus 2 plus 3 is going to give us 1. Then the next thing for us to do is to cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we now have our answer to be in this kind of form. So when I cross multiply now, just take note, cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you are going to get y. So you open bracket first, open bracket, because this 1 come out here. 1 will multiply the numerator, that's cross multiply. 1 times y minus 5, so 1 is going to be outside the bracket, then y minus 5 is going to be inside the bracket, equals to the minus 9 will multiply 3 x minus 3, sorry, x plus 3, which is x plus 3. This is not equals to x plus 3. Okay, so x plus 3 with times minus 9, that is this. Then 1 with times y minus 5. Then when I open my bracket, 1 times y will give me y. Okay, I'm going to get y minus 5. So 1 times y is y. 1 times minus 5 is minus 5. Equal to the minus 9 times x is going to give me minus 9x. The minus 9 times 3 is going to give me minus 27. And at the end now, see that we are almost done. Y will now be equals to minus 5 will become plus on the other side, which is minus 9x minus 27 plus 5. Then this will now give us, move down a little, this is now going to give us y equal to minus 9x. Y is equals to minus 9x. Then minus 27 plus 5, this is going to give us minus 22. That is it. 27 minus 5, 7 minus 5 is 2, that is minus 22. So this is our answer. You can either leave your answer in this form. So minus y is the gradient, minus 22 is the intercept. So that is what this answer means. Or you can leave it in this other form, which is y plus minus 9x will become plus on the other side, so it will now be minus 9 plus, y plus 9x, then minus 22 will become plus 22 equals to 0. So this is the answer. So this is all you need to do when they ask you to find equation of a straight line. You can see what we did. This last one we did, you can see the answer. All I want you to know in these two answers is, if you leave your answers in this form, you will know the gradient of that equation, and you will also know the y-intercept. For example, now this one we did, this last one we did, the C part, you can see they only gave us 2 points. Gradient is not given, the y-intercept is not given. That means if I plot the graph of this answer I got, if I plot the graph of this answer, you see that my gradient is going to be minus 9 and my y-intercept is going to be minus 22. I can plot it fast for you to see it in case you want to confirm the result we got here. So, or you can use this equation, any of the equation you use, you will get the same answer. But in this form, this gradient and y-intercept form is very, very important because we give you the gradient and the intercept. Let me just plot it fast for you to see. Okay, let me use this. So I got my answers again. Let me check my answers again. So my answers, I got y plus 9x plus 22 equals to 0. So let me type it here. You will see what I will get. I got y plus 9x plus 22 equal to 0. Let me check again. Hope I'm not missing Okay, yes, we are correct. So you will see that the gradient is going to be -9 and the y-intercept, the graph is going to cross the y-axis at -22. You are going to see it here. You can see it. You see, this is the graph. I've plotted the graph already. You can see the graph. So I've plotted it already. So this is the graph. This is the line. You can see the line. So you can see this is the x-intercept. But I don't need x-intercept. I need y-intercept. So this graph is going to cross the y-axis at -22. You can see. I'm just going now so that you can see it. You can see it. It crosses the y-axis. You can see the graph line crosses the y-axis at -22. So this is what we are talking about. So that it shows that what we calculated in the other page is correct. But I've told you from the beginning of this topic, in this topic we are not plotting graph. They want you to use your formulas, your equations to solve your answer. Because there's no time, the time you use in plotting this graph and getting your answers. If it's subjective questions, you know there's no time. You don't have time to do all that. So take note of what we did. They are very simple. Then if I want to check the gradient of this line, let's see if our gradient is going to be -9. I'll just come here and check it under slope. I told you before that slope and gradient they are the same. If I click on the line, you can see the answer. See, slope is -9. I told you that the slope is going to be -9. You can see the answer on this side. M, which is the gradient slope, is equal to -9. So that is the beauty of knowing what to do when you are solving your work. You can see that I've convinced you that what we did is very correct. So by leaving your answer in this form, you will know the gradient is -9, you will know the y-intercept. But this other form is also a general form, which is also very important depending on what your examiner wants. So this is all I want you to know in today's class, how to calculate the equation of a straight line. But there's something I would like you to know also to help us in our next class, which is how do you calculate the gradient and intercept of a given equation of a line. So how do you do that? So of a given equation of a, so they may give you equation of a line, they will tell you to find the gradient and the intercept. So it's very simple. That is what I demonstrated in this place. So if this is equation of a straight line, and now ask you to tell me the gradient and the intercept, just make y the subject. You can see, so when you make y the subject, coefficient of x equate it to be n, you get your gradient. Then the last constant of the constant without coefficient of x now, which is minus c over b, equate it to equal to c. That will give you your intercept. So before we go, let's just try this example. I have an example here to demonstrate that. So let's see the example before we go. So which is this example, which says find the gradient and x and y intercept in each of the following straight lines. So there's r in this place in each of the following straight lines. So this is a very simple question. So if you want to solve this one, solution, all you need to do here is make y the subject of that formula, and that is all. By the time you make y the subject, you are done with your calculation. So the first one, which is number 1. So what do you need to do here? To just make y the subject, make y the subject, or if you don't want to make y the subject, or substitute, you substitute x equals 0, substitute x equal to 0 for y intercept. Substitute x equal to 0 for y intercept. So I've told you before in our last class, I told you that when you are looking for y intercept, x is going to be 0. So that is what I mean by, or substitute y equal to 0 for y intercept. Just come to this place, x equal to 0, then find y. Whatever answer you have for y will be the y intercept. That is all. Or make y the subject of the formula, you will get your y intercept. It's the same answer you will get. Or if you don't want to, if you want to get x-intercept, this is for y-intercept, and substitute now, and y equal to 0 for x, because sometimes they may ask you to find the x-intercept. It's not only y-intercept. Substitute and y equal to 0 for x-intercept. So take note of this. Substitute x equal to 0 for y-intercept and y equal to 0 for x-intercept. So I told you also in our last class that at x-intercept, y is equal to 0, then you solve for x. So that is what we are talking about. Take note of that. So let's solve this question, and that is the end of today's class. So number 1 here, which is I. So how do you do that? If I make y the subject, let me make y the subject in this equation. We'll do comparison of both methods. You will see what we are talking about. If I make y the subject in this first equation, I'm going to have 3y is equal to 2x, and minus 6 will go to the other side, which is minus 2x plus 6 plus 6. You can see it. Then the next thing is to divide each term by 3. Remember what we did in the beginning of the class. So I'm going to have y is equals to, so when I divide each term by 3, it will now be minus 2 divided by 3 x. So that is our gradient. Minus 2 over 3 is our gradient. Then plus 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3. So that is that. Then which is finally going to give us y is equals to minus 2 over 3x. Minus 2 over 3x plus 2. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So at the end I now say therefore gradient, which is m, is the gradient is equals to minus 2 over 3. So this is the gradient, minus 2 over 3. And intercept, and y-intercept is equal to 2. So that is the y-intercept for this, and gradient. All you just need to do is to look at the coefficient of x is the gradient, compare with the first equation I gave you today. That is all. Then the value here is the intercept. So this is what I'm talking about. If you compare with this equation, which is y is equals to mx plus c. So if you compare with this, you see the coefficient of s, m, is minus 2 over 3. That is the gradient. Then the last constant c, which is 2. C and 2 are equal. So the y-intercept is 2. So that is this. Then if you need your x-intercept, I've told you for x-intercept, substitute y equal to 0. Y equal to 0 for x-intercept. So if I substitute y equal to 0 in this number 1 equation, when y equals to 0, you now say for x-intercept, let y equal to 0. So that is what we do. So when y is equals to 0, all I need to do now is 2x. Let me put it in math mode. 2x plus 3 open bracket 0. I'm now substituting y to be 0. Minus 6 equal to 0. So that is all. Then solve for x. You get your y-intercept. So that is the end of this one. You will get your x-intercept. So 3 times 0 is 0. Minus 6 will come over to this side. It will become plus 6. So I'm going to have 2x is equals to 6. Then finally, I'm going to have, divide both sides by 2. I'm going to have x. Is equals to 6 divided by 2. It's going to give me 3. So x is equals to 3. So 3 is the x-intercept in this equation. 3 is the x-intercept, y-intercept is 2, then gradient is minus 2 over 3. You take note of that. You know, some books may leave their answers in fraction. Let me see, minus 2 divided by 3 is equals to, so you can leave your answer in 2 decimal or 3 decimal. So this one is 3 decimal, which is minus 0.667. If it's 2 decimal, it will be minus 0.66. So some answers, some examiner may want you to leave your answer in decimal, which is minus 0.67. If I'm leaving it to 2 decimal, so this is my answer in decimal. I just want you to take note of this. So that is all I have for you today. The other example, I'd like you to do it as assignment, this second one. So find the gradient, just make y the subject, then compare with this equation. Coefficient of m is gradient, then c is the constant. You can leave your answer in fraction or you leave it in this form. But before we go to let me also use the graph to show you the answers we got so that you compare our answers. Gradient is minus 0.67. Y-intercept, that is where the graph crosses the y-axis, is 2. And the x-intercept, we got it as 3. Let me show you the graph of this equation so that you know what we are talking about. But then nobody wanted to plot graph in solving this question because of time. But let me just show you to compare our answers. So I have 2x plus 3y minus 6 equal to 0. Let me show you on the graph paper. Okay. Let me remove the first one I did. Okay. So I have my equation as 2x plus 3y. Let me see the equation again. Hope I'm not missing. Okay, 2x plus 3y minus 6 equal to 0. Minus 6 equal to 0. You can see the system have plotted it for us. You can see the graph. The graph crosses the y-axis as 2. So that is why we have y-intercept as 2 as our answer. Then the graph crosses the x-axis as 3. You can see it. So that is why we have x as 3 as our answer. Then the gradient, if I solve it here, slope of this line, you see the answer is minus 0.67. Can't you see that the formula is also correct with plotting of the graph? So this is what I want us to learn in today's class. So try to follow all we did today. Follow our last class very well and follow this class. You see that everything is simple. It's just for you to practice and understand it very well. In this last example, equation of the line is given. We calculated the gradient, we calculated the y-intercept, and we calculated the x-intercept. So take note of this, and for more question of practice, you can do these few assignment questions I have here, just to be used to the formulas I introduced to you today. So I hope you enjoyed today's class. Do have a nice day and take care.